All right, my friends, welcome once again to another episode here of the Red Delta Project podcast live feed Q&A, helping you to be fit and live free by taking a fundamental approach to fitness. My name is Matt Schifferly. With me, I have a co-host this week. I'm very excited to introduce you. This is Erika Straight from Domestic Kitchenry. We've been working together. She's also my girlfriend, and she's come out here to Colorado. She lives in New York, actually. And we have been cooking up a storm over the past week and having all kinds of fun with new things. We got some ribs literally cooking in the oven right now. We've been doing all sorts of fun things with sampling some of the local fare here in Denver. And I invited her here because the theme of the Red Delta Project over the past week or so has been really helping to build momentum and building some habits for those who are either beginning in their fitness journey or those who are coming back to fitness after a long hiatus. I just put out my brand new program, Beginning Calisthenics Strength. Is a 28-day program to build momentum and motivation for calisthenics training. And there's a link down below in the description if you want to check that out. And now we're going to do the same thing with Erika's help when it comes to meal prep and food, because one of the best hacks that you can possibly implement to radically improve your diet, which I covered in last week's episode, is meal prep and absolutely making your own food. So let's kick us off here, Erika. Some of the best or most meaningful impacts that come from meal prep. Like, why should we do this? We got meal deliveries, we got takeout, we got things that'll deliver stuff. Does it still make sense to have like meal prep in this day and age?
Well, yeah. I mean, it depends on your lifestyle too, because meal prep takes time. You know, you have to set aside time to prepare all the food, right? But in the long run, if you can set aside just a few hours once a week, you shouldn't need a meal service. You can crank out a lot of meals just in one simple setting.
Yeah.
So it's more cost efficient. You know, it costs less. It's healthier.
It's just like working out. It takes some time to get things moving, some momentum going. And I think a lot of times we make the mistake of thinking, oh, this is hard. I'm establishing new habits.
It's not hard.
And stuff. But once you get going and stuff, it's like, why didn't I do this before?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I doing this all the time?
It doesn't have to be really complicated either. You're not making all these fancy meals and stuff. It's just basically like, you can do chicken, eggs, chop some produce, make some meat to put in the freezer. Boom, you've got a week's worth of meals right there and lunches. So, yeah.
Because one of the things that I've heard from people say, like, oh, I'd love to make my own food, because when it comes to healthy eating, like making your own food is such a big step up, because you control so much more of your food environment that way. You control so much more of how much you can eat, what you're eating, and when you're eating.
Yeah.
It's even faster than takeout too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's heat and eat.
Oh yeah.
In the microwave or on a saucepan.
Yeah, nothing.
It's way faster than fast food.
Yeah.
Which really isn't that fast or that cheap anymore.
No.
Unfortunately.
No, it isn't. You're gonna save a lot of money and time if you meal prep.
Yeah. Because these days, especially now, we're also talking a lot about, oh, there's inflation and the price of everything is going through the roof in the grocery stores. But when I look at very basic staples that are out there, I'm not seeing a huge jump up of those things.
Right.
Like basic vegetables. Like, yeah, of course, prices are going up with everything.
Yeah.
But I'll buy rice, I'll buy chicken, and I'm like, yeah, it's more expensive, but it's not like that more expensive.
No.
But if I go and I'm looking at fast food or restaurants, or even if I'm in like the frozen food prepared aisle, it's like, oh my gosh, suddenly this TV dinner is like $7 where it used to be $2.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? I think that's where we get most. So you're kind of minimizing some of that upfront.
You are, a lot.
Increase in the cost.
Absolutely. Especially you mentioned, I know you like to do the frozen prepared chicken that's already done, right?
Yeah.
Marinated.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is so expensive now.
Yeah.
It literally takes just minutes to meal prep that.
Yeah.
You can have like a week's worth of chicken and like, boom, you marinate it overnight, you put it in the oven, you chop it, it's done. And, and it's probably half, I would dare say even half the cost of what a bag of the frozen chicken would be.
Yeah.
If you just do it yourself.
Well, as you know, like we had it for lunch today. Like I used to buy at the store, they had this pre-marinated chicken that I thought like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And it really wasn't that expensive. But it was like, okay, and then they stopped making it. And I was like, oh no, my marinated chicken, I don't have that. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, how hard is it to just marinate
It's not.
chicken?
It is not.
So now what I do is I just buy the most basic
Yeah.
plain chicken breasts,
Mm-hmm.
a bottle of marinade, put the marinade in a bowl, put the chicken in the bowl, let it marinate like overnight, throw it on the grill, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like just as good, if not better. And it's literally, it was like a third of the cost
Yay.
of the pre-marinated
Yeah,
stuff. It's like,
yeah.
why was I bothering with the other
Exactly,
stuff? You know,
exactly.
it's like
Yes.
you put a little tiny bit
Just a
more
little
work
effort.
into it,
Yes.
but it gives you so much more for so much less.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that we need to start looking back on, because one of the things that I've noticed in my line of work of people like, I can't seem to build muscle, I can't seem to reliably lose weight, I can't seem to control my fitness. So much of it is like, well, are you meal prepping? Are you able to make
Yeah,
some of your own
absolutely.
food? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Or I barely do that, and they're living off of whatever they can grab on a daily basis as they go through their busy day.
And that's okay sometimes. I mean,
oh yeah,
you have
I
to
mean,
give
we've been
yourself-
doing that.
Yes, you have to give
Yeah.
yourself a break. Just eat,
Sure.
eat food. Just eat food. Eat whole food. That's the
Right.
thing. When you're out, like we'll grab cheese sticks or an apple,
Yep.
or something that's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's out. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And the other thing too is you get to make it your way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I made the spaghetti
Oh,
dinner
so
for you
good.
the other
Oh,
night.
he's a chef.
Yeah.
He's such a chef.
And one of the secret ingredients, folks, if you're making spaghetti and you want to kind of add a little bit of extra kick, is I get these jars of banana peppers, or pepperoncini. Sometimes you can get that. So you put some of the peppers in the sauce, but you also put the juice
Oh yeah.
in the jar in the
Yeah,
sauce too.
that did it.
Just a little bit, and
Yeah.
it just adds that little bit of acidic sweetness to it that
so
make
good.
So everyone
good.
who uses every time I use that, I'm like, there's just something extra there. So that's the advantage too of making your own food is you get to put in these little things that are like, oh, I love a little extra basil, or I love cilantro, or I don't like cilantro,
Yep.
or whatever, and you make it your way, because as I've long said, that the healthy foods are ones that satisfy you the most.
Right.
So if you can make your own food that's more satisfying
Oh yeah.
than what you find in a restaurant,
Yep.
you're ahead even on that regard as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back again a little bit more to the beginners and stuff of, so let's say I'm like fresh out, like I've always been living at home, I'm living on my own for the first time,
Okay.
I have no cooking skills, I have nothing
That's okay.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Where do we begin with that sort of thing?
Where do you begin in what context?
Well,
What do you-
I need to be able to make my own food, and by the way, I've set the house on fire 3 times pouring cold cereal. Not gonna lie, that
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
like,
So the first thing you need to realize with cooking, and where I start with everybody, and that's the foundation of my website, is it's for everybody, whether you're just starting to cook or you're a seasoned cook, it doesn't matter. If you can read, you can cook. Okay, that's where you start. That's where everybody starts. That's where I started. Everybody starts that way. So when people come to me and say, "Well, I can't cook," yes, you can. Can you read? Yes, I can read. Well, then you can cook. So that's where you start. Get yourself a very simple recipe book with very simple recipes and start there.
okay.
So my site is not actually a recipe site. I'll have my favorite recipes on there and whatnot. Mine is more about technique and about how to plan your meals accordingly so that, with minimal effort, with maximum output.
Yeah, that's the
So-
RDP way. I like
And
that.
that's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
Because
That's why it works.
yes. So to answer your question about that, if you're just starting out, basically just get yourself a really good, well, for God's sake, you don't even need cookbooks anymore. You go on Pinterest and there's all kinds of, like cool recipes on there for beginners, and you just follow along, bada boom, bada bing, you've got a meal.
Yeah.
So really, it depends on you and what you want. So
Yeah.
it's really, people really like to overcomplicate things,
Yeah.
especially in the world of food. It's like, oh, we must this or we must that. There's no we must. It's what do you like? What are your goals? When we say whole food, it's not like, okay, you have to live on fish and rice now. Not everybody's going to want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So you need to find your food. What's your favorite food? Just pick any food. There's so many healthy foods out there that there's got to be at least one that you like.
Yep.
Are you a red meat person? Are you a chicken person? Choose something and then just branch out from there.
So it's kind of like you have your like in the exercise world, like you've got your basic fundamental movements like push-ups.
Right. Yes.
But then you can branch off with variations and different programming methods and things. So you don't need I think a lot of same thing with working out is a lot of people, they try and like, there's got to be some sort of magic formula out there. It's like, what's the secret sauce? Like, what is and meanwhile, you've got like, we heard out here in Denver, there is a 1-star Michelin star rated Mexican restaurant here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I've heard from friends, and they're like, how in the world can, like, you have Michelin rated restaurants and it's just tacos?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it's just tacos.
Yeah.
And they go there and they're like, I've never had a taco so good in my
Because they
life.
know their stuff.
Exactly. But it's still just chicken and beans and rice
it's
and
the
cheese.
way in which you do it. Yes.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with food, is basic things done very well will produce much better results than fancy things done, well, mediocre at best.
Like the spaghetti we had the other night.
Exactly. Yeah. It's spaghetti.
That meat sauce. Oh no, that was.
Yeah.
It was done right.
That is true.
It was done right.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be fancy.
No.
And I'm much more coming to the idea too with workout and with diet is the best habits are the ones that take, not little work or effort, but they're not interfering, with your lifestyle and stuff. They're not something that gets in the way. Like, you shouldn't need to make it this big focal point of your day of like, oh, I've got to have like, what did you do on this weekend? I meal prepped.
No.
Well, what did you do? What else? No, I spent the entire weekend meal prepping. It's like, oh my goodness, what are you, like meal prepping for, the USO or something? Like, what in the world's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be.
No.
Complicated.
And meal prep, sometimes, it's out there, and I've seen it on Pinterest. Oh, meal prep, spend X amount of time for 60 meals. It's like, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just think of, even a few days. Even if you can meal prep, like, okay, take half an hour or an hour and plan the next 3 days out. That's a win, right?
Yeah.
Because now you just go to your fridge, you can grab something out, you can warm it up, boom. That's it. So it's really not as hard as everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah.
So.
Very simple. We got our first question coming on. Self-reliant farmers coming in and saying, do you guys know anything about nutritional values of venison? I swear it's like jet fuel for me. Are you a venison eater?
I grew up eating lots and lots of venison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had it every which way but loose. And the nutritional value, I know it's very, very, I know I talk too much. I'll shut up.
No, she doesn't. It's a podcast, people.
I'm so sorry.
We can do shadow puppets. We can do interpretive dance.
So, no, I don't know much about the nutritional value of venison. I do know that it's good for you, though. So, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, I think a big part of it, it's not so much the venison, which I do know is high protein and stuff, because, we're both from the Northeast. And from Vermont, where I'm from, like deer season's huge in Vermont and stuff. I remember I used to literally need to wear like the reflective vests and stuff when I would just go to the school bus, because there were that many hunters on my country road where I was. And I think one of the big things, because out here in Colorado, it's not so much deer, but elk. We have elk hunting season, and same thing is people are like, oh, I don't know what it is with elk. I just feel amazing. I don't think it's so much what it is. I think it's the fact that it's literally being wild. I was going to say wild caught, but no, it's wild, like hunted. So you've got an animal that's been raised in the wild. There's no farming, there's no slaughterhouse, there's no packaging, there's no system. You're literally going out and hunting it like our ancestors did. Then you're getting it butchered by an expert butcher, and then you're freezing it. And so there's not a whole lot of systematic like interference, I guess you could say. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're having such a positive impact from it, is that it's not in the commercial food system and having all the other stuff come about. And because of that, it's like vegetables grown in your garden. It's much more closer to home, closer to the normal thing that is giving you all the more positive benefits. Probably more flavorful too, I would imagine.
Very tasty.
I never had a taste for venison though. I
don't, since I grew up, now I don't care for it so much anymore. But
yeah, it's I keep trying it. I want to like it, and it just isn't working for me. So, but that's the beautiful thing about things, is that when you are experimenting with home cooking and stuff, you can tweak things so you do like it.
Oh, sure.
For your things. And so much of what makes food healthy is how much it satisfies the palate.
Yep.
because we can get really caught up in the nutritional value of things, which I think is a big mistake a lot of people make when it comes to dietary stuff. Is they will be like, what's the nutritional value of this, and how much protein and how many carbs and things.
Yeah.
And we're basing our food choices almost entirely on that, which is good, but I would argue it's not even close to enough
Right.
for a truly healthy diet, because you could feed the body like a pro, but if you're starving the soul, what's the point?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's got to taste good.
It's got to taste good. And food occupies so many other variables in our life too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's social, it's interactive. I mean, we're coming up on the holidays now. You've got all sorts of things that happen with, family, friends.
Yeah.
Think of the traditions that food has.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to things, food has to satisfy all these things. It's one of those things that you need to make sure that the food is not necessarily satisfying one aspect of things, but you're depriving yourself in other ways.
Right.
Because what's your take? Like, a lot of times in our fitness culture, there's this idea of, well, if you want to satisfy or you want to be healthy, you've got to have deprivation, or you've got to be like.
I don't really believe in that theory.
And neither do I.
I believe that we need to watch what we eat.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just live on sugar and junk food.
I've tried.
It's
possible, but I've tried. Yeah.
But or like, I don't know, just balance everything in balance.
Well.
Yeah.
That's why I've got the 3P strategy.
Yes.
Here in RDP, and again, that works with home cooking. It works with restaurants and stuff. Is each meal, and actually put a pin in that, because I think a big part of the advantage, and kind of going along with what Self-Reliant Farmer was saying, like venison, like, why do I feel so good with venison? Sometimes certain foods just lend themselves to meals.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's like some venison meat sticks and things you can get out there now, but I think one of the things that is eroding now in our ability to eat healthy is we're just not eating meals these days.
Yeah, and you have to eat the meals. I'm big on the meals.
As opposed to like snacks, where it's like, oh, I got a protein bar, or you've got stuff out there like I'm probably gonna misread it, like Huel or something that's out there. It's like, oh, you get all your nutritional value in this one thing that you can slurp down, and it's
like a drink.
Yeah, like a drink and stuff. And that stuff is, I'm not saying that's bad.
Yeah.
But again, if you're living on shakes and bars and pills and stuff, like,
does that taste good to you? Does that really do it for you?
It's kind of like, I guess it satisfied me through lunch here at work. But that's the thing, is I feel like we're missing wholesome meals.
Yes.
We were talking the other day about how sitting down with friends and family and stuff, and saying, okay, life time out for an hour or two. We're going to have a meal, and we're going to put the cares of the world on the back porch for now.
Yes.
And we're going to have meals, and we have salad, and we're going to actually do this with intention and purpose and things. And I feel like that is something that's been eroding more than anything else.
Yes.
Especially here.
Yeah, it's good for your mental health too.
Yeah.
Sit and just relax. In Europe they do that. They take at least, I think it's an hour, correct me if I'm wrong, for a lunch break, and they'll actually sit down and converse and enjoy their food. They don't just gulp it down.
Right.
And, enjoy what you're eating. And it helps everything, your mental health. Yeah, it's good for you.
So it's almost, again, it boils down to, it's not so much what, but how.
Yeah.
It's like, you can tell me all day long, like, this is my push-up routine. I do these many push-ups these days of the week. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea if that workout's effective or not, because I don't know how you're doing the push-ups.
Exactly.
I've seen people do push-ups, and it's like, yeah, I wouldn't get any results if I did them that way either. But if on paper, it's like, but it's push-ups. It's like, yeah, but there's push-ups and then there's push-ups. Same thing with meals. Like, there's lunch and then there's lunch.
Yeah.
There's a sandwich and then there's a really
we just
good
lunch.
sandwich.
Really
Exactly.
good lunch.
Yeah, exactly. We had marinated chicken with broccoli salad, and I think that was it. It was
cottage
cheese.
cheese.
You had cottage cheese for an extra little protein hit, and that's the benefit of those things is you're in more control. And at the end of the day, like so many of us, we come into our fitness world because we want more control. Bottom line, we want control over our body's health, how it looks, how it feels, how it performs. And the less control that we have over food, the less we have influential control over those results, bottom line. And the more we have too much dependence on external products and factors, like, oh, I've got the perfect meal plan, I just always need this company to make all of my meals for me. And it's like, okay, that's good, but what do you do when life inevitably changes and stuff?
Yeah.
And it's the ability to be flexible and adapt, which all this stuff that is so important for healthy eating is just so much easier when you're making more of your own food.
Yes.
There's a lot of things out there that promise to bring you everything you need from a nutritional standpoint by offering services and foods and products and things. And that's all fine and good.
It is.
Because it can play its role.
Yes, it can. Yeah.
But making your own food is like a standard aspect of healthy eating. And I for one, I never really made my own food till I was in my practically mid-30s. I always had trouble with things. First time I was living on my own, and my buddy was like, dude, seriously, you're living on Hot Pockets and bologna sandwiches and stuff. And I was, well, we'll get into this too, but my argument at the time was, well, yeah, dude, I'm broke, like, what do you want me to do, kind of thing. But now it's kind of like, it's so much cheaper to make your own stuff, especially when you have basic staples.
Yeah, so you gotta stock that pantry.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I've got my pantry here, kind of stocked up. And it's one of those things that it's not that hard. I mean, we've been kind of on a Snickers binge lately. I went to the store the other day. I was like, Snickers bar, it's like $2, $3 almost for a candy bar. And I can literally go to the grocery store and buy a bag of apples for $3. I was like, I've got apples for a week for $3 or one candy bar. And I'm like, it's not always more expensive to eat healthy sometimes.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the basic staples? Like if I'm going to the grocery store and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start this meal prep kind of thing.
Okay.
Where should we start making our grocery list out to be?
Well, let's see. I'm still working on my list. I'm going to have a printable, like a little PDF book with that thing. But I would say you need to start with the basics like flour, sugar, and if you make your own bread, yeast, which that's always good to make your own bread. It's not as hard as you think.
Yep.
Eggs, produce, apples, your lettuce, things to make salads with. Some meat, chicken.
Oh, good call here. Sweet potatoes all day long.
Sweet potatoes, absolutely.
Sweet potatoes are good stuff.
Absolutely, that's good. Any kind of produce like that is really good to have on hand. And you can do many things with, like eggs. You can do a million things with chicken, sweet potatoes.
Yep. So, and herbs too.
And herbs.
That was a big thing for me is when I started to have a little bit of just some seasoning, some herbs.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we look at these staples like eggs, chicken, like all this stuff is boring. Cheese. It's got to have cheese. Yep. But I think a lot of times when people are looking at these basic staples, they think boring, bland food.
Oh, you've got garlic. You got to stock up on the garlic. The crushed garlic. You can always freeze it. Go beyond salt and pepper. Like you're saying, do your herbs.
Yeah. Explore the spice aisle in the grocery store.
Yeah.
There are so many things there that you can just sprinkle on meats, put in some eggs. You can infuse it in like olive oil, like we were doing at the restaurant the other day, and suddenly you've got something that just makes everything taste amazing. Bottom line is it doesn't take a whole lot to go from blech to wow, that's great. And complication is in many ways the enemy here.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to meal prep and with exercise. Yeah. It's what's about like quality? Like a lot of times people get hung up on quality. Does it matter that much?
It doesn't. It depends on first of all, it depends on the person. Some people are very strict with everything being organic and all that stuff, which is fine. But I don't think it's important in every area. Olive oil, I would say, is the number one.
Okay. Yep.
There's an article on my site about olive oil because there's a lot of fake olive oil. So it's very good for you as long as it's real.
Is it like chemicals and stuff, or?
Yeah, well, they substitute with like vegetable oil or other oils.
Oh, okay,
So I would say quality things. Like eggs. Eggs are eggs. Everybody gets so hung up on that. I would get good meat though. Good cuts of meat.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Meat's important.
I
don't know. I mean, it's up to the person really.
I heard that. What's that? The saying, like, if you can't tell the difference, why pay the difference?
Sometimes.
Kind of thing.
Sometimes. Like with
Okay.
olive oil, you don't want to do that.
Okay. All right.
But that's
Well, now I'm
the only
embarrassed
thing
by my olive oil.
We'll fix that.
Okay. Teach me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know the good olive oil and stuff. What about going on price? Like sometimes I go to the grocery store and there are things there that, like here in Colorado too, you know, we've got all kinds of Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, niche grocery stores and stuff. And I can get olive oil for a regular price, but I could probably get olive oil for $1,000 if I look hard enough. Does it matter?
It does matter. Well, I'm in New York. You're in Colorado. Same brand of olive oil is sold here as there, and it's California olive oil. That's the one that I have looked up and researched and know that it's real, and it's not that expensive. So you don't have to spend $1 trillion.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
A couple more questions, self-reliant things. Again, what's your guys' go-to slow digesting carb source?
Slow digesting carb source.
You have an answer? I'm going to jump right in on this one.
No,
anything, dude. Anything. So digestion, the speed of digestion is a consideration for food. Sometimes you want fast digesting. You know, when I'm about to go out for a bike ride and I'm like, I'm going to have lunch and then bike ride like an hour later, or I'm even eating something on the bike ride, I sure as hell don't want slow digesting. No. I'm like, dude, I needed the sugar in my bloodstream 20 minutes ago. Like, I need it now, stat kind of thing. But the beautiful thing about the ability to slow down the digestion rate of whatever you're doing is adding in fat and protein. So you can take the most pure, refined, bleached, sugary, you know, white bread in the world, but you add turkey, cheese, oil, you know, slow digesting things to it, you slow down the digestion of that because your body doesn't digest carbs, it digests food. And so when the food as a whole is relatively slow digesting because of primarily like more complex things like fats and proteins, then you can have pure granulated sugar in it. It's still going to be relatively slow digesting. So for most cases, we don't need to worry too much about digestion speed unless we're eating something that's more of a refined carbohydrate in itself, in which case I'm like, yeah, I want a fast digesting Snickers bar because I'm on a mountain bike and I've still got another 40 miles to go. I sure as hell don't want to slow that down. Yeah. But in most cases, again, with meals, you're not having those, like if you're making pizza, it's like, well, it's enriched refined flour in the dough. It's like, dude, you're loading it up with extra cheese, pepperoni, sausage, and olive oil and stuff. And trust me, it's slow digesting no matter what you're doing here. Yeah. So if you have it in isolation, add things to it. If it is in isolation, just basically like whole grain breads, pastas. Basically, if you're having any sort of fruits, depends on how ripe it is. Yep. Like apples, because of the pectin and stuff, is going to digest a lot slower. Yeah. Bananas, that's going to be a little faster. But again, and also remember that quantity, everything about diet is dose dependent. Yeah. You know, one of the rhetorics in our fitness culture that's just simply wrong is that if you eat this food, you get this result. And that's not how food works. Because if you eat something, you're not going to get a particular result because there's other factors involved, particularly dose dependent. Case in point, follow it up here. Larry's here saying, cut out soda, candy, cakes, chips, ice cream, pies, junk food, and so on. Now, yeah, I agree. Don't make a meal out of that. Right. But we've been eating all of that stuff for the past week. Like, how much ice cream have we been eating? Quite a bit. And chips. Literally, this is a checklist. Candy? Yeah. Yeah. You got that. Soda? Yeah. No, I don't drink soda. Well, you don't drink soda, yeah. Candy, cake? Yes. Cake, no. Cake? We haven't had any cake. We haven't had cake. Well, we had that ice cream that had the cake in it the other day. All right. So I guess that's, so pies. I'm not a big pie eater. No, we didn't do pie. Yeah, chips, sort of thing. But again, it boils down to, like, the point I'm making is, like, we think if we eat certain food, we're going to get a certain result. You eat this food, you're going to get fat. You eat this food, you're going to get lean. That's not how food works. Because there are lots of people who eat fast food who are perfectly lean and healthy. Now, yes, there's a very heavy correlation between, well, if I eat a ton of fast food, probably going to have
Well, really, it's
yeah,
all in how often.
yeah, how often. Everything in fitness is about speed.
It's,
Everything is about speed. What's your rate of
yeah,
doing it, these
yeah,
sorts of things. And it's one of the things that we want to consider is when we have a dietary approach that we're adjusting, it's not do this, don't do that. It's do this faster, do that slower,
yeah, yeah.
kind of thing. When again, we go
Right,
back to meal prep,
right.
we get a lot faster on the things that we want
Yes,
to promote,
yes,
slower on the things that we don't.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a good way to just keep perspective of how this stuff actually works. So that way we can base our healthy eating off of actual factual way things work as opposed to
Right.
just correlation, cross our fingers and hope by chance it
So I
works.
think what he was asking though is
Oh, did I misread?
just, isn't it considered good? This is what you're saying. I hope you
Oh,
cut out all these things. All
oh,
the-
I'm my bad,
and
Larry.
it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. And I think he's saying, but don't make meals from scratch. Instead, eat steak meals of all beef hot dogs. Just variety. Just
Mhm.
make sure that, yeah, of course, we don't eat
Yep.
junk food all the time. That's not a good thing.
We've been eating it all the
So-
time the past week.
well, when I go home, that'll change. I'll go back
Yeah.
to it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
you have to have balance. I mean,
Mhm.
but you're not gonna explode if you have some junk food every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And it in the right context.
Yes.
Again, because we don't want to make ice cream a meal.
No,
You know?
we had a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. There were self-reliant farmers following up saying, great point about modifying the rate of breakdown. Thanks both. I have to drop. Good to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. I've been watching your vids since I was like 16.
Oh,
Fantastic.
wow,
Great job.
nice.
Thank you so much for the support. But we're talking about, independence. Like that's what RDP has always been about, is doing things your own way. That's a big part of my upcoming program of Beautiful Strength. Is one of the tenets of developing Beautiful Strength is developing it in your own way, doing things on your own terms. That goes for working out, that goes for lifestyle in general, but certainly for food.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that is very, I hate to use the word oppressive, but very ominous in our fitness culture out there is like, you had better follow this diet, or you
Yeah.
had better eat this way.
Yeah.
You had better be a follower. You had better be obedient to this
Right.
diet rule.
Right.
And well, one is who the hell knows if that's even best for you as an individual anyway.
Yeah.
And two, it's creating that dependence and obedient mindset that it just doesn't make you strong
We're happy.
or happy. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think we can give you we're going after a sense of control.
Yeah.
Again, it boils down to that control I was talking about earlier. And it's so enticing sometimes when you come across a dietary idea of like, just don't eat these foods and you're going to have control. Just do it this way and you're going to have control. But if you're following a rule perpetually without any assessment or analysis of it's best for you, are you really in control, or is it in control of you?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I mean, it's fun to start with that
Oh,
stuff.
sure. You have to have discipline. You have to have a foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to change your diet around, folks.
No.
Years ago, I remember when I was like, I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but if I had ice cream in my regular diet,
Yep.
I just feel better.
Yeah.
Like I feel and better, and I perform better, I recover.
Yep.
Like I don't know what it is about ice cream, but I'm just better off with ice cream in my diet. And it's like, well, okay, if I'm better off, I'm gonna eat ice cream, kind of thing. And so that's the tenet of not only healthy eating, but just beautiful strength in general, is
Yeah.
noticing what works best for you. If you're like, well, everyone in my family is telling me how if I eat pasta, I'm gonna die an early death and my ears are gonna fall off or whatever, but if you're like, I just feel better and I enjoy pasta, it's like, well, then you listen to your experience.
Right.
Because our experience is gonna teach us far more than we need to know
Absolutely.
for most
Absolutely.
things.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is trial and error to cook your own food.
Oh yeah. Food should be fun. Don't be so uptight about it. Just if you ruin something, you ruin something. Try again. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
It is. Yeah, it is a good thing, because it shouldn't be drudgery.
Play with your
A
food.
chore.
Play with your food.
Play with your food. You should put that as a t-shirt.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
outstanding. Going back a little bit with the combination between food and fitness, because they are so heavily related. Abs Ben Mahidi saying, can you build muscle without hitting your calorie needs? Well, here's the thing about calorie needs, is they are always kind of in flux and changing. And so Yes and no. I know you love these nuanced answers, right? Bottom line is, let me put it a different way. Can you build muscle if you're not eating enough? Dead honest, no. Impossible. You've got to have the materials. You've got to have the recovery to do so. And it's very contextual. If you're a very beginner individual who's working out for the first time, probably let's say late teens, early 20s and stuff, you'll grow muscle as weed if you're eating nothing but Snickers bars. Your situation there is very different from someone like our age. I'm 46. I've been training for over 30 years now. It's going to be an act of Congress for me to put on even a pound of muscle under optimal conditions, just because I've used up most or a lot of my potential. So it's very much contextual, but the bottom line is you want to make sure you're eating enough. Yes. And I'll be addressing this in the next episode on why dieting in general can hold you back so much, but you definitely want to be eating enough. The research has clearly shown that yes, if you're in a slight caloric deficit, you can build muscle. You won't build it as quickly, but you can certainly build it. So I guess that's technically saying you're not hitting your calorie needs. However, I would argue that if you are really trying to build muscle, you're working out really hard, your needs are higher. And so you should be eating to satisfy those needs. So will you build muscle if you're lower than that? Well, if you're a beginner and stuff, possibly. However, you want to make your needs met. And that's the whole point of healthy eating.
And so what is enough when you're satiated? When you're not bloated and full, but just like,
Yep, exactly.
That's when you know you've had enough, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your body is always conversing with you. It's like anything else. Like we trust our body to tell us lots of things of what it needs. We step outside and we're cold.
Yeah.
I need to put on a jacket. We drink too much and we're like, I gotta piss like a racehorse. We go to the bathroom. We listen to our body. We respect our body, and we give our body what it needs and what it's asking for. In so many, I just get an itch and I scratch it. It's that simple. But when it comes to food, there's so much out there telling us, don't trust your body, whatever you do. And that's not helpful.
No.
If you're hungry, especially if you're in a muscle building phase, my friend, if you're hungry, I don't care if you had dinner 20 minutes ago, eat. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. By all means, it's good to eat. It is a good thing to satisfy your appetites. That's why you're going after those things. And he follows up, does taking supplements cover you for having less than perfect meals? What would you say is a perfect meal?
A perfect meal?
Yeah, like, okay, less than perfect meal. Like, what are we talking about?
For having less than perfect meals. Okay, so you want to supplement. So he wants to do supplement instead of eating food, if I'm understanding that right.
Or let's say, he's like, oh, I didn't get time for lunch today. Lunch was nothing but a bag of pretzels.
Okay, so then instead of a supplement, have a protein bar, have some source of food. Supplements are good for like vitamins that you're lacking or whatnot, or like magnesium and things like that. But
yeah.
I don't really think anything personally takes the place of food.
No,
you need
food is like the genuine article.
Yeah.
For supplements, I always kind of look at supplements like the cheap, knockoff product. Sometimes online you'll see these things of like, look what I found in China, and it's got like a backpack with a picture of Spider-Man. It says Batman underneath it, kind of thing, like these cheap, honest knockoffs. So it's like these people have no idea. That's supplements.
That's very well
okay. So it's kind of like, gee, I could have a real. So I understand what you're saying. Like sometimes life just doesn't go with us, and so I would say like a protein shake, for example. Like I don't look at protein shakes as a supplement. It's just food.
Or smoothie. Now, I make my whole food smoothies, and that's a meal.
Yeah, exactly. It is. That's food.
So it's food.
It's food. Yeah. When I think supplements, I think pills and things like that. It follows up. Very good. So like eating Chinese or burgers. I'd say Chinese burger, dude, you could get some great food. Chinese. Absolutely. You know how to make a good burger? I'd say, do it. Fantastic. But a lot of times the supplement idea is like, okay, I got to fill in the gaps and things like, a lot of this rhetoric is very much in the marketing of supplements out there where people are like, oh, the American diet is so terrible.
Not really.
It's like,
and if you do it right.
When I was in nutrition class, we learned of these are the things that happen if you don't get enough of these nutrients.
Right.
And the big lesson there was like, none of this is ever happening unless you've got someone with eating disorders, malnutrition through extreme
Or
poverty.
thyroid troubles, or if you have issues,
Yeah,
sometimes they
right.
can rob your body of.
True,
I understand.
true. Yeah, medical issues,
Yeah.
medical issues. But the bottom line is like, if you're having particularly like a full, like good solid meal, eating, 2, 3 meals a day and stuff, and it's relatively wholesome foods, you're probably pretty darn well covered.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I understand take a vitamin pill and
Oh yeah.
things just to like, I want to make sure I'm covering my bases. Yeah, sure, fine. But
Like this here.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, exactly. Incorporate organic protein
Good for
shakes every
you.
day.
That's great.
Try and get enough protein. Yeah,
That's
protein
great.
shakes are a great snack. And a lot of them are fortified with vitamins and
There you
minerals
go.
too. So if you're like, well, should I get a protein shake or vitamin pill? I'm like, well, get the protein
shake.
shake. You might as well get the more out
It
of
fills
it.
your belly too. It makes you feel like, hey, I've eaten something.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Wholesome foods, for me, it's always a question of like, how much can I get? How much value can I get from what I'm eating?
Yeah.
If I'm taking a vitamin pill, okay, you're getting the vitamins, but you're not getting anything else.
Right.
If I'm getting a protein shake, oh, and I add spinach and I add peanut butter and I add, and you got like 5 other things in there, you're getting a lot of value for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say get as much as you can.
Mhm.
And if you're like, well, I can lean on supplements.
Yeah,
Like,
and that if they want to do the supplements later,
yeah.
fine.
But I would say if you're doing Chinese food once in a while, you're getting some burgers. Burgers are nothing more than sandwiches.
Oh yeah.
And sandwiches are, I think, some of the best foods we can
Eat them
eat.
all the time, don't we?
Oh God, yeah.
Lots of
Yeah,
sandwiches.
I think burgers are fantastic,
Yeah.
especially like loaded up with the veggies, man. A lot of times we get cheeseburgers and we think McDonald's.
Yeah.
But if you make a really good burger, I mean, that's healthy.
It's good for you.
That's good stuff for you. Yeah. All right. So follows up, Larry. Good questions. Intermittent fasting, trim off excess belly fat. I want to hear your thoughts first.
It depends. If you are seriously overweight and you need to maybe get a jump start, and you're gonna correct me, right? Because you're the expert.
You're not saying anything wrong.
So
I'm just gonna add my 2 cents. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not saying anything wrong. There's no wrong when it comes to this stuff.
Well,
it's just what's going to be more applicable for Larry here.
Is that if you're really in excess and you have a lot of, say, like 50 pounds, 40 pounds to lose, you may want to jump start it that way to get some of and it's mostly water anyway at first, right? I mean, when you start
It
losing
can
weight,
be, yeah. You can lose a lot of water
So,
weight from a
because
fast.
the salt, you're not having as much salt, blah, blah, blah.
Glycogen
But,
loss,
yeah.
depletion. Yep.
But I don't really agree with intermittent fasting. I just agree with portion control. I think if you just do portion control and you move your body and drink more water, you should drop weight.
Yep. I know a lot of times people get hung up, like they criticize eat less, move more, but it really is that. Because fundamentally, it's not about, is it intermittent fasting or a diet?
Yeah.
It's, like I said earlier, everything in fitness is about speed, about making the rate of something happen. So when you're fasting, you're assuming that the fasting is going to slow down your rate of caloric intake. And anything that helps you lose weight from a dietary perspective is doing exactly that. I remember I got a friend of mine really pissed off at me one time when I was like, all fasting does is it slows down your rate of intake. It doesn't do anything different from other diets.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's special. It's unique. It's a biohack. It's like he thought he had some, unique way of doing things. Like, no, you're just eating less, dude. You're just slowing down your speed at which you're eating, which is always a good thing. Because remember that if we could create the new whiz bang diet that runs off of unicorn blood next week or whatever. And at the end of the day, it's still going to work because you're just slowing down your rate of caloric intake. It does the exact same thing, which is good because if it doesn't do the same thing as everything else, it doesn't work. So yes, intermittent fasting, can that be a strategy for slowing down your intake? Yes, but recognize that that's what it's doing. Because a lot of times people will be like, well, I'm intermittent fasting, but then on their feeding windows, they're eating more to compensate. So over the course of a week, they're not actually slowing things down, and they're like, it's not working.
And you won't stick with it.
Yeah, and you won't stick with it.
Eat a way that you know you're going to stick with it. So just eat like you normally eat. Just eat less.
And that's the way I usually do it.
Even if you're snacking more through the day, so you eat less at a time. And if you're hungry again, we'll eat a little more.
Yeah.
I mean,
the bottom line, Larry, is you want to have a stable diet established first. Then implement strategies to have a noticeable slowdown in your intake. And fasting certainly can work. If you want to learn more about that sort of thing, I've got an ebook on the website down below called Calorie Hacking. And calorie hacking is just that. You have a normal, stable, steady diet, and then you spend a period of time noticeably slowing down your intake or increasing your expenditure, or whatever. And fasting can certainly do that. So yeah, fasting can do it. However, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose weight just because you're fasting. You can certainly fast and never drop a pound. Happens all the time to people. So you don't want to assume, well, I'm going to lose weight because I'm fasting, or I'm going low carb, or I'm following this diet, or whatever. Because these are only methods. Just because you're driving a great car doesn't mean you know how to get to the airport. So when you are looking at whatever it is, you always want to look at, will intermittent fasting help you personally slow down your caloric intake in the easiest way possible for a week or two? If it does that, yeah, it'll help you lose some body fat. If you struggle with that, no, it won't help you. Bottom line. That's a long way to go about it, but he follows up saying, I'll skip breakfast if I ate a huge dinner so as not to blow up. Is that sound thinking? No. And I'll tell you why. Now, I usually, well, speaking of big dinners, I'm about to correct myself here. How much do you think we ate last night?
Well, there was bruschetta.
Yeah.
You had spaghetti.
Spaghetti, yeah, the
I had
bolognese.
ravioli, and you had most of my ravioli.
Yeah.
We had a
They
couple
were
of
big
drinks.
raviolis. They were like
huge.
this big too. Yeah.
Drinks.
Yep. I had a couple of beers and the cocktail. Yeah, we rolled out of that restaurant.
It was a lot.
Yeah, so I ate a big dinner last night, bottom line, right? And so this morning, I didn't necessarily skip breakfast, but I had a very light breakfast. And it wasn't because I'm like, oh, I got to compensate or I got to make amends or anything like that. It was just simply, I'm just not hungry. I'm really not feeling like eating because I ate all that just last night. So I had an apple and one of those Perfect bars.
Yep.
And even then I was fine until lunch today. So I'm a fan of like, yeah, I had a light breakfast. Why? I just don't feel like I need it because I had a big dinner. However, when we often look at things like calorie balance, we often take much too much of an acute perspective where people are like, oh, I ate so much last night. Now I got to do cardio to work it off. Or I ate a cheesecake at the restaurant yesterday. Now I got to pay a penance. I got to balance it out in these acute ways. But the fact of the matter is your weight is not determined by what you did yesterday or in the past meal. I mean, we've been eating very different from what we normally eat over the past week.
I haven't gained a pound.
Yeah, I'm eating a lot more. I'm eating a lot more junk food and everything. Am I worried about it? Not at all. Because in the grand scheme of things, this week is nothing. It's too small of an influence. So you want to have more of a perspective here, Larry, of what is my general rate of caloric intake and expenditure like over the course of a month.
There you go.
Or a week, or at least a week or so.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have fluctuations like this all over the place. Sometimes you're going to eat much more. Sometimes you're going to be much less. You're going to be in a caloric surplus and get fatter on some days. But the fact of the matter is your overall result that you're going after is what is the general balance and frequency of things over the longer periods of time, not what happened over the past 24 hours. Because when you get really fixated on the acute habits and stuff, that's when you get more into these cyclical like binges, purges. Oh my gosh, I just did this. Now I'm anxious because I ate cheesecake last night and stuff. That stuff is not conducive towards a healthy diet or successful weight loss much of the time. So don't worry, if you're hungry, eat. If you're not, like I was this morning, I'm not like, I need to eat less because I'm not hungry. So I'll listen and respect my body. So you're kind of on the right side there, Larry, but don't worry too much about it. We'll get to some more questions in here. Belma saying, Matt, should I put tons of tension in the legs while squatting during my day-to-day activities? It can get exhausting if I do it like in a job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have this image of you in a warehouse there, sir, just, sorry, I dropped my pen. You don't need a lot of tension, but here's what I would say is you want complete tension throughout your legs. Okay, so when you get down, let's say you dropped your pen, right? You get down on the floor, do you have tension in your calves, your quads, your glutes, and your hamstrings? Are you using your legs as a cohesive unit? That's the more important thing. And that may feel like you're putting a little bit more tension in your legs than you normally would in a more efficient setting. But if you can use things more cohesively and get more tension overall throughout your legs, but you don't need a lot, that's what's more important. Use things as a cohesive unit, connect the muscles together, not necessarily contracting really stupid hard like that. Although that can be a good tension relief if you're just standing there. And that way you're just getting good at tension control, tension manipulation and stuff, which is always a good thing to improve upon. So we're coming up on the last few minutes here, Erika. So let's say we're looking at, I've got some degree of cooking skills, okay? And I got a kitchen and stuff. Let's talk tools and stuff. Like every time you've come over here, we've gone and kind of overhauled my kitchen.
Yes.
The first time, guys, she came over, she's like, seriously, you're using this as a spatula? Oh my God, you're dead to me. I can't even believe I know you right now. The tools matter.
They do.
They do make a difference in meal
Absolutely
prep.
do.
What are some of your top recommendations for your basics?
Okay. Again, on my website, when it goes live in December, I mean, it's live now, but when it's active, I'm going to have a list of all of those things. And cast iron is the number one.
Yep.
Your pots should be cast iron. You should have your, stainless steel, but cast iron is really great. I recommend.
You converted me to cast iron. Yep. It's been a lot easier to make things in cast iron than the cheap stuff I was using. That's for sure.
And it will last you a lifetime.
Yeah.
So that's, cost efficient. Also your utensils, like you were saying, like your spatula. You don't want the wooden handled ones. You don't want the plastic handled ones. Just get the solid, nice stainless, and they're not that expensive and they'll last you forever.
Yeah.
Things like that. And heavy, like when you hold it, like we did the silverware.
Yeah.
Getting your silverware.
Yeah, she upgraded my silverware the other day, folks, and I was like, I got silverware. What the hell do I need silverware for? And this wasn't expensive silverware. It was but it just had more of a, weighted feel to it. And now whenever we're having lunch, I'm like, this is just so much better. It makes
better.
it just makes a difference.
Longer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. Like, why wasn't I doing this before?
Yes.
It does make a difference.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. So you don't need a lot of gadgets and gizmos and whatnot, just basic things.
So are like kitchen gadgets, like back in the day, you had a lot of infomercial kitchen gadgets and things. Are those like fitness
and choppers and all that
fitness
stuff.
gadgets, same kind of idea?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a few little gadgets, like a pineapple core is really nice.
Okay, yep.
But it just depends on you. But for the most part, if you have a really good knife, good chef's knife, and a good bread knife.
Oh yeah, I learned that
knife.
one the hard way.
Yes.
Yep.
Paring knife, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's because the tools make difference. It's just like fitness equipment and stuff. You can skimp and be like, well, it's good enough for now. But when you have things you enjoy using, you're going to use them more.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's worth the investment. We're not like, it's not like you took me to Crate and Barrel and I was buying $50 spatulas.
We go to IKEA.
Yeah, we went to Target and stuff,
it
and it's
doesn't
just
need to
having
be-
an eye for these
It doesn't need
things.
to be top of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like mixing bowls. I'm like, I got bowls, and you're like, no, baking, mixing bowls. Like, not like we're some sort of Cretan caveman in the kitchen here. And it's like, oh, I feel like a real adult now, actually baking stuff. But it does matter.
Yeah.
It does matter.
Yeah.
What about like, okay, I've made food. Like, I've made a good amount of food. What do I do with? Like, I'm not gonna eat an entire lasagna. Are you like freeze? Like, what's freeze?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a big advocate for freezing everything.
Okay.
You can cook big, freeze half of it, and you're good. Then you just pull it out and make it later.
There you go.
You don't waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, we want it easy.
Yeah.
Heat and eat is
Like
always.
my smoothies. I have smoothies every morning. I make one big batch. They're in the freezer. I pull them out.
Okay.
I don't have to make them every day.
Yeah.
It's all about making it easy.
Yep.
You're more apt to eat good if it's easy.
Yep.
So.
I was surprised. One of my other guests who I've had on, she always has a Japanese approach to food and cooking, and one of the ideas that keeps circulating in her stuff is always like, people are like, oh, Japanese eat so healthy and they eat so well. It's like, because we make things so easy.
That's it.
It's like we are big time on convenience.
Yes.
You don't need to spend, all day in the kitchen to make dinner.
Who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Nobody. Not even me.
Yeah, you do it and you love it. So yeah, same thing here. Like, I love working out, but I don't want to spend, an afternoon in the gym.
Especially the way you trained me today. No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a
In,
hard
out,
workout. That was a
done.
hard workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get the job done. And if you can get it done in a more satisfying, easier way, you're going to win more. It's that simple.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Any words of wisdom to part the individual, the audience with?
No pressure there.
No pressure.
No
I always
pressure.
put people on the spot.
Just keep it simple, and that's the foundation of my site, is to just keep things simple so that you can have good food at all times with minimum effort.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's the same way we do things here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Domestic Kitchenry. Link is down below, folks. Check it out. Lots of good information there. Check out our baked ziti recipe.
Yeah.
It's the first time I made baked ziti, and I didn't burn the house down.
Yeah.
So if I could do it, you can do it. Highly recommend it. Very good. And the other tip was the real Parmesan. That was so much.
Parmesan
fun.
Reggiano.
Yeah, real cheese.
Not the shaker Parmesan.
Yeah.
It comes out of the, the little
Like, oh,
green.
it's cheese. What's the big
That's
deal?
not
Yeah.
cheese.
Oh man, I'm learning so much here, folks. But yeah, seriously, check it out, Domestic Kitchenry, and also the link down below for my new beginner calisthenics workout program, 28 days to building momentum and motivation for those who are just starting out or coming back after a long hiatus, specifically designed for you. I'll keep you updated on my program, Beautiful Strength, as it's coming out, but this is all part of it. Everything that I'm giving you on these podcasts and my videos is all about the lessons that are in Beautiful Strength. So some of you have been asking me, when's it coming out? Well, it's coming out now, piecemeal, through my videos and through these podcasts. So make sure you're subscribed and you've got the notifications and all that I don't even know how that stuff works. But the bottom line is I'm already giving you this stuff from the Beautiful Strength program, and preparing and making food your own way is a big part of that sort of thing. Taking control over your diet in your own way is essential for developing that beautiful strength. So thank you very much, Erika,
Thanks
for coming
for having
on.
me.
Much appreciated.
Nice
Thank you,
to meet you.
everybody, for coming on as well. Your questions here, and I will talk to you next week. Till then, be fit and live free.